What's up, everyone, and welcome to Play Hard and Love Big Radio. My name is Nick Clark, and I am your host for today's episode. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and Sup, based out of Folsom, California. Check us out at spotteddogyoga.com. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is dedicated to bringing you the people and the inspirational stories that you can take with you so you can live a more purposeful and passionate life. And we've got one of those amazing guests with us today, my good friend, Sean Silvera. What's up, Sean?
What's happening? I'm so happy to be here to see your face there. And I wish we were in the same room or out in the woods or something or on a yoga mat together, but this is second best.
Yeah, man. I mean, if we can't do the other things right now, at least we have this, which is cool. I mean, technology has kind of opened that up for people, I think, don't you think?
I do. But like personally, during the COVID thing, I couldn't wait to nuke Zoom and doing classes from afar.
Yeah.
But this in this realm, it's awesome.
It is awesome. Well, hey, for everybody that doesn't know who Sean is, Sean, well, he's a very diverse creature. Let's just go ahead and say that. He has a lot of really diverse interests. I met Sean through the Baptiste yoga world. Sean and his wife, Jennifer, are the owners of Baptiste Yoga San Francisco, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. And just overall in general, Sean, you've been one of those people that anytime I'm around you, I feel like my energy is lifted. I feel inspired, and I feel like I can just be myself, which is why I'm so excited to share you with our amazing community. What are you most excited about for this podcast?
Yeah, I think just I said it before, just being in the same room with you or virtually or not, but just talking about how yoga interweaves with like everything, even things most people won't really think about, and just be having an open conversation of everything that's going on in life and how yoga might be in the background, always driving, what my interests are.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, let's talk about your history a little bit. What has your life been like? How did you get to where you are right now? Are you from San Francisco area?
I'm from Marin County, you know where it is, just north of San Francisco. Grew up in San Anselmo, which is in Marin, and went to the local high school there. Played football in high school, pretty normal kid. Like put everything I had into, like, that's what I was interested in at the time. Not so much school, but played since I was 7 years old, and was an all-league receiver in high school, but was very clear that it ends in high school. This like 5'9" guy is not getting a scholarship to a college, and college was kind of out of my realm. Not that I wasn't interested in it, but I don't know. I don't think the like student loan thing was big back in the 80s. So I didn't really have access to it. And so I decided I'd go to the JC and kind of figure things out for a while. I did a year at the JC. I played on the football team at the JC, and I came from my dad's been in construction. My whole family has ever since I was a little kid. So I've been in construction for a while, and decided, okay, well, I'll do this. I'll play football. I'll go to college, and I'll get my contractor's license. So at the time, as I was going through, I guess like the youngest guy in California ever to get a contractor's license, which was pretty cool. I thought it was cool at the time. And I did that, and it just, it's funny because this kind of probably intermingled where I ended up, but I always had this idea of giving back or being of service. So to me at the time, my access point was the military. And, looking through, my dad was in the Navy. My brother had actually recently joined the Marine Corps. And it's like, oh, what's the best out there? I want to do the best, the hardest, put my heart into something and just do it. So I joined the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps, like, I just fit everything just, these are my people, and the community in the Marine Corps, the brotherhood in the Marine Corps, I got your back no matter what, the family-ness of it. It just, for me, it was everything I'd ever been looking for as a kid.
Yeah.
And I did really well. I got a promotion out of boot camp. I was honor graduate in my specialty school, which was which was, I was in the infantry. So I did that. My career in the Marine Corps was great. I made, I was platoon sergeant was my last job there. So really, if you want to put it like in an easy way to understand, like dad for a platoon of 30,
Oh
and
wow.
it's something
Yeah.
I love, but I was right there with them. I wasn't telling them what to do. It was all in the fight together, all living together, all of our issues, whatever, if we're deployed, everything going overseas, just being there for everyone. It was just something that I hadn't, I hadn't ever come across before. My family's tight, but not a big family, nothing like that. And this was like, man, I found family. This is what I love. Um, I spent some time there, got out,
How much time did you spend
a total of
in the
about eight
Marine Corps?
years.
8
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mixed in with some inactive reserve.
Yeah.
So it was great. I kind of always think why I didn't go back. Once the Gulf War started, or not the Gulf War, but 9/11, I was in during the Gulf War. 9/11 started. And, I'm like, fuck, maybe, oops, sorry. Maybe we'll go back.
Yeah. You can say fuck, dude. Fuckity fuck, fuck, fuck.
Yeah, okay, good.
Whatever
Thank
you
you.
got, dude.
I don't
It's
know if it's
okay.
appropriate or something. I know there's buttons on podcasts. Is this appropriate for children?
You're good,
Um,
man.
but I thought about going back in, and I just had a little girl who's just the light of my life, and I'm like, I couldn't, I can't leave right now. I know the guys that can, and they're going to do a great job, and so I just really contractor life, but there was definitely a point where, and I think hearing your podcast, you've come across those points where I've got this job, it's going great, and it's not enough.
Mm.
Like, what else? What else can I do? And at the time, I was huge mountain biker, rode my bike every day, and I was a home brewer. I made beer, and it was something that um, it was like this thing you could create, just blending, like cooking. But I don't know, my cooking side has never been really all that solid. I can barbecue the hell out of things, but I watch those cooking shows, and I'm like, how do they come up with these amazing dishes using squid, a carrot, and peanut butter?
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I got into the as a home brewer, and thought, well, I have time. It's a full time job running a construction company or contracting company, and um, I joined a brewery, a local brewery. I was an apprentice for them. I started brewing beer for them on my free time, which was, kind of I'd run the job sites. I'd be there 4 days a week, and then I had a good crew. I'd leave Friday. I'd pretty much work at the brewery Friday, Saturday, Sunday, brewing, engineering, making things flow the right direction, making sure the beer was right, and then do festivals and stuff on the weekends, and then run the construction company, and that was amazing. I mean, I loved doing it, and it added on to my workload, which there's always like in my yoga process, I'm like, what was it that made you need to be so busy? Did you not want your body or your mind to silence itself for a while? And like looking back, likely that was something about it,
Huh.
but yeah, it was just strange. But that was pretty much really before my yoga life started. Working 80-hour weeks or 60-hour weeks, staying busy, and of course, all the other work we do in Baptiste, it was like, oh, to prove to yourself that you can do it, that you can make money, support yourself, and that sort of thing. And there's something around there too.
Yeah,
Just
totally.
hard
Well,
work.
I mean, it sounds like coming out of the military where you found family and had purpose and whatnot, and then getting into construction. I mean, obviously you have a knack for doing things hands on, and you're obviously very good at that as well. But then it seems like that you found a purpose in brewing and home brewing and learning about how all of the different aspects of that worked out, right? So there's
Yeah.
like some purpose around it too, that it helped you enrich your life. Would you say that?
Yeah, totally. It
Yeah.
it was different as in I wasn't the leader of that team. And it's like most of the time it was worked out. Like, I own my own company because I don't want to work for anybody. You
Yeah,
know,
I get that.
yeah, yeah. It sounds horrible, and it sounds, oh, you're just maniacal or you're power monger. It's not that. I just want to be in charge of my own destiny, right?
Yeah, oh,
And yeah.
totally.
So, and the brew was very different. I was, I'd be cleaning the place. I would be, brewing. I'd be cleaning the brewing equipment. So, but it was something where I really got to see a business grow and done by, a guy that was learning along the way and making most of the correct turns and some failures. And I'd get to see those failures and, really part of, for the brewery, it was a lot of observation, like just watching the right moves, watching what it takes to make it turned into a $500 million with a B company and came from nothing, like not being able to pay the bills. I'd been at the brew house where PG&E came to shut the power off. And I'm like, please don't shut the power off. I just got to finish this brew and then you can do it. Have a beer, Mr. PG&E guy. So, it came from absolutely nothing and watching it and being a part of it becoming this amazing behemoth. Yeah.
Was it always named Lagunitas?
Yeah. Yep. We started out here. So I'm in Woodacre. Like the
Yeah.
next town up is Forest Knolls, Lagunitas. And just breweries don't work well on septic tanks. So
Oh,
it didn't work out well. It was like, do a brew, call the pump truck out. Do a brew, call the pump truck out. So Tony McGee is the founder, and he moved the brewery up to Petaluma, and that's pretty much when I joined. Yeah, when the brewery was in Petaluma, and then that was the original place. It was like two roll up doors to start,
so cool.
and then the big plant, and then Chicago, and sky's the limit. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, who is Lagunitas still? It's still locally owned or owned by him, or is it owned by a bigger conglomerate? I can't
It
remember.
was sold to Heineken,
To Heineken.
and so Heineken completely took it over. All the same sort of players are there, the workers, not so much the leadership, but it's got the same feel. There's a little bit of change. When big companies take over a smaller company, there's going to be some growing pains and some pinches and that sort of thing. But
Sure.
for the most part, um, I see it as being very much the same. I don't drink anymore, so I couldn't tell you if the beer was exactly the same.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, dude, that's awesome and so interesting. I actually would like to get into that too.
yeah, sure.
So why did you stop drinking and what are you noticing as a difference in your health since you stopped drinking?
Yeah. So there was no well, there was a Sentinel event. You were probably privy. I had a condition a couple years ago, and it's probably been a year and a half. I had a very rare brain issue, and it was a thing called moyamoya disease, and usually found in Asian women.
Hmm.
So not sure how I got it, but
Hmm.
it's not hereditary. It just shows up in weird places. And so I had to have two brain surgeries to fix it.
Hold on one
And
sec though. How did you even what happened to you where you noticed that something was wrong and off?
yeah, so looking back in my 20s, I'd had a couple incidents that I thought were panic attacks. And I'd get numb on the left side of my body, and I just kind of blew it off. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
2 Octobers ago, I was on a solo elk hunt, 10,000 feet in Colorado, and living out of a tent for 10 days. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I stood up out of bed. I almost fell over. The whole side of my body was numb again, and it hadn't really happened like that since I was in my 20s. So I get up, and your brain plays funny things on you. I said, "Oh, I was sleeping on my arm. Everyone's arm has fallen asleep during their night or something. It just something happened, not a big deal."
Yeah.
I continued the hunt for the next probably 4 days, but I noticed my fingertips and the side of my mouth was was numb, and the side of my mouth drooped just a little bit. But I'm like, oh, I must have touched something, fuel from the ATV or powder from the I don't know. It's just or a plant. I don't know. It just so
Right.
I kind of just I just blew it off and and just rolled with it. It was kind of in the back of my head. Shit, maybe this isn't what I thought it was, but um, denial is a big drug, man. You know, you don't want to be ill, you don't want to be sick, and I just really blew it off like it wasn't there. That next February, I shoot archery every day at my house, and I just got a new set of arrows and I mixed them up not well. And I knocked an arrow, I pulled it back, and it was a short arrow. And so it got hung up in my linkage and stuff. And I went to let it go and it released and it basically came back and the knock hit me, just about took my eye out,
Oh
but it hit
shit.
my eye. This is a weird story on how this all came to pass,
Yeah.
but it hit my eye, almost took my eye out. Big hole. I could see, you know, it was basically my eyelid was a lot longer, and my daughter was at home at the time, and and I'm like, shit. Can you see this? Am I okay? And she's like, no, you're going to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'm fine. So
Yeah.
I went to the ER, the local ER, and my wife met me there, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to stitch you up. And on the table, I had a full on stroke. So loss of my left side of my body, my words weren't coming out of my mouth, and yeah, just full stroke. So they said, what is that? I'm like, no, you freaked me out. I fell asleep. I'm again trying to protect myself and say, there's nothing wrong with me. You
Yeah.
know, there's just can you please check me out and get me out of here? They didn't. Jen was there. My wife was there. So they put me into the MRI, came back with weird faces. Do you know what you have? You know, this sort of thing. And I'm
Like you
like,
should make, like almost like you should know from, because it's a condition you've had for a long time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you
Wow.
know, they looked at the MRI and they said, oh, you've had several strokes or um, TIAs or transanemic attacks. And I don't know if I said that right, but TIAs. And
Sounded good.
yeah, and there was proof on the thing. And then they also saw the moyamoya, which is evident on these MRIs. So went through that, checked out. My healthcare is the VA, so uh, I went to them. They did some preliminaries, more um, scans, more the thing that after all the surgeries and everything, the thing that I dislike the most is cranial angiograms. So they send a tube up my groin, a big vein in my groin, all the way up to my brain, and they shoot dye into it so they can take pictures. And
Okay.
then they'll run it off the right side and put it on the third side or the left side. And you have to be conscious for all this. They can't sedate you. So super uncomfortable. That's the worst thing. And I had a bit of a TIA on the table there. So the incidents were increasing and um, so it just got worse and worse. And I was so lucky to have Jen, who's, you know, lifetime nurse basically. She started getting on and saying, well, is there a professional at this very rare disease? You know, who's got a clinic? What's the deal? And so lucky that Stanford Medical Center down south has the world leading
Hmm.
neurosurgeon that does this. And we got the VA to give the referral there. And so I got two sides, both two brain surgeries done by just this magic brain surgeon that specifies in this, has a clinic for Moya Moya. And it just worked out really well. I feel amazing now and a little bit like I look back at who I was prior to it. And I mean, I don't know. You probably remember in program, Leandra always telling me I never remembered names. And I'm like, I just don't remember names. I try hard. She's like, that's because you don't care. And I'm like, I do care. I just couldn't remember. But that was so I have a great excuse now. But
Well, I
But
mean, maybe
yeah,
it's not an excuse though. I mean,
yeah,
there's some legitimacy to it. I'm imagining that's what you're discovering, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
There was when I look back, there was just I would lose focus of conversation. I would
Hmm.
forget what the conversation was about. I'd go blank, like, and particularly like after a yoga class, I can't really talk to. At the time, I couldn't talk to anybody for a good 30 minutes before I came down. And the fact was is that heat, activity, all that going on, I wasn't getting any blood supply to my brain.
Hmm.
So it was something that was slowly building up. I don't quite know why I didn't have the effect from my 20s to my 50s. It was pretty clear in there.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I made it to the other side, and I feel like a new human being, a new lease on life. Really good stuff.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you look and sound great. And this
Yeah, I
was,
got some
I
good
know.
scars if you look hard enough on both sides, but it looks good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it adds to the hunting character, you know,
Yeah.
in some way. Like, if there's a hunter in your area, you just take your hat off, and they
Yeah.
maybe move to
Dude, that
another
was a
valley.
bear, man. Yeah, bear. I ran into a bear and I won. Yeah,
But
no.
no, man. Well, I mean, thank you for sharing that story. I know when we first saw the post go out about what was going on with you, like I remember the feeling, like it just
Hmm.
my heart sunk. I feel it right now. Just
Yeah.
because you've made such a huge impact in my life, and you're such an amazing person. I was like,
Mm.
holy shit! I just couldn't believe you're going through that. I'm so happy that it's turned out the way that it's turned out. Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
amazing.
The short of it with alcohol is that the doc was
Yeah,
like, look, you don't want to mess that electricity up any way, shape, or form. And I don't do any other drugs anyway. So I'm like, it's fun. I'd spent my years like taking a month off of alcohol my whole life.
yeah,
And then once before I had done like 4 years. And just because I took that month off, I'm like, I'm going to go another month. And it just rolled into 4 years. But then at the end of that, I'm like, I'm tired of people thinking I'm sick because I'm not having a glass of wine at dinner with them. You know, it's kind of like peer
got it.
pressure brought me back into it.
Hmm.
And so I just like literally started drinking again. This time it's like I flipped a switch. And, you know, friends and people at the studio are like, that are AA folks, come to a meeting with me. I'm like, I really don't need meetings. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not interested in it anymore. It's for my health. I'm good. I don't have cravings. I flipped a switch and I just don't drink anymore, you
Yeah,
know?
isn't that phenomenal? I mean, you flip the switch and you're having a lifestyle shift. Like
Yeah.
you've decided. Like it's not even that you've decided. It's almost like Barron always says that those kind of things just give us up, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like that just gave you up. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no
Yeah.
longer do I need that. That's really cool to hear that. Are you noticing, like, health wise, are you noticing any shifts in your body from not drinking?
You know, I was hoping that like the weight would just come off,
Yeah,
and it didn't really happen like that. Um, I mean, I lost a few pounds because I had gained a bunch during the surgery,
yeah,
or after the surgery because I was kind of sedentary for a while, and just the water weight and all that from the meds and all that. But but that was something I was expecting more of, that didn't really happen. But clarity and just noticing, like, even, I mean, now that I can look back at it, me having a beer was kind of like my culture of like being part of the brewery, like, you know, knowing the craftsmanship of what it takes to put in the can. It was kind of an homage like that.
yeah,
Drinking was nothing I did when I was stressed or something like that. But I did notice, like, now in in con, in just the way of being is, why do we why do we why do we choose to go for beer? Why do we even choose to go for coffee? And it's because we're unhappy with our current feeling. You know what I mean? It's like, if you kind of look at it like that, like, oh, I don't feel great, so I'm gonna have a beer to numb it out, or I'm gonna drink some coffee to wake up. So I've gotten really connected to how I feel in the moment, and how in the past I might have used something to alter that feeling.
yeah. That's neat. well, I know you were a fan, maybe probably still are a fan of the Black Rifle Company,
Yeah,
Black
yeah,
Rifle Coffee Company. Do you still
yeah.
drink?
Friends of
Do you
mine over
still
there.
drink some coffee?
I can't give up coffee. I don't. I drink
Yeah,
maybe a half a cup to a cup in the morning,
yeah,
and for some reason, I'm not enjoying it like I used to. I
yeah,
used to really enjoy it, but it's kind of the one vice I don't think I can ever completely give up. But yeah,
yeah.
that's just black coffee to kind of just the smell of it and all that, and it's the same thing. You wake
Hmm.
up in the morning and you're tired and you want to change that. Have some
Yeah.
coffee. Yeah.
No, I love your perspective on it, man. It's actually really interesting how our lives are crossing paths right now in a lot of ways.
Mm,
But that's one way that our life is crossing path is that we don't drink alcohol at our house anymore either. It's
yeah.
very, if we do have it, it's like, a beer at a friend's house or something if we're just over there. But I am connecting to what you're saying. Like it is true when you spend your life being present and not
Mm,
being, not drinking or doing drugs or anything, but just being present with the emotions that come up. It's amazing to me how often the uncomfortable sensations or uncomfortable emotions come up and how often I want to run towards like a beer or I want to like start exercising. I just don't want to sit with them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But the more that I'm present and the better I am at consuming things that are healthier for me, the easier it is for me to just sit with those. Like we talked about with meditation, right? The easier it is for me to sit with those emotions and to observe them and to feel them and then just to let them go and to move forward. And
Hmm.
I think that what I was doing, at least from my evaluation of, quitting drinking and whatnot, is that I was just covering them up. I was having a beer or 3 beers and covering up those emotions. And then next morning, I'm like feeling groggy, not feeling good. So I drink that extra big cup of coffee. Then I feel good till the end of the day. Then I'm stressed out again. And then it turns into this vicious cycle that was like wrecking me physically, but more than that, it was wrecking me mentally. And my confidence and everything was just shit. I just didn't feel good. And
Yeah.
so it came
That's
from
like a
that.
bullet train. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, right? It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I feel great. I don't miss anything.
good.
And like you said, I feel more present, like present in the moment and taking on difficulties organically, not sedated, subdued, or fogged. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Dude, well, I mean, it just bleeds right into our what we do for a living with yoga and Baptiste yoga. And so, how did you? And I know we went forward and talked about um, what happened with your health, but then after Lagunitas kind of settled down and you moved away from the beer industry, how did you end up getting into yoga and Baptiste yoga and building Baptiste Yoga San Francisco?
Yeah. So it all kind of intermingled. But during that first time of being part of the brewery, definitely had some like pent up stuff. So I was playing hockey, and that was like my drug at the time, and
No
mountain biking
kidding.
too, but hockey, and of course I was a defenseman, and still again my 5'9", 5'10" stature, like I was the enforcer on the thing at whatever in my 20s or 30s, and it was um, it was definitely a point where I was on the right side of fights on the ice way too many times. I just knew my card was going to be up.
Mm,
And so I'm like, okay, and it was hockey's aggressive, man. And like I said, I came from football, which is kind of controlled chaos. Hockey for me, because I wasn't an epic skater, it was pretty just war on blades, you know?
that's
So
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know it was crazy. So somewhere along the line, my wife had started yoga a couple of years before me, and she's like, look, you got to come to class. And it was almost like I didn't have no for an answer. Like I'm like, "Ugh, I'm not fucking going to group stretching, bunch of hippies, bunch of people. And I'm still very like marine construction site, foul
Hockey.
mouth, the type, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And whatever, I did it. And the first class, I mean, I remember my teacher. I don't know if you remember her from Baptiste, RJ Parker.
I do not know.
Yeah, she was probably a little before you came on. And I didn't know, I mean, she was out by the time I came into Baptiste, but she rolls up in this Ducati motorcycle, and I'm like, who's that? And Jen's like, oh, that's our teacher. That's RJ. I'm like, what? And the class just rocked my world. Like the hardest thing I'd done since boot camp in the Marine Corps,
Mm.
right? And it's just, I think I was probably weeping. I was like, the just all the input of what she had to say and the fact that it was very different than what I was expecting. It was just, yeah, hook, line, and sinker, first class.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And from there, I started going. She was teaching at one studio. She opened a studio in San Rafael. I started practicing there. From there, she said, hey, well, I'm like, where did you learn all this? That whole curiosity. And, oh, Baron Baptiste, he has programs. You can go take his level 1, level 2, level 3, and, go learn there because I don't have a teacher training. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, okay. so, so, yeah.
Let me look
So,
this guy up.
yeah, I'll look this guy
Baron, what
up.
did you say? Baron what? Baptiste?
Baron who? How do you spell his last name? I misspelled Baptiste as Baptist for I don't know how long. Yeah.
I had somebody call me yesterday and ask me if we taught Baptist yoga. I was like, no, it's
Yeah.
Baptiste yoga.
Yeah. Yes. But it's a little different though. You
Right.
might not be used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to level 1 and like, I was one of those guys that nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, I'm like, yoga guy talks like, um, inspirational speaker. I just didn't get it. But like literally like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, it hit. And I'm like, holy shit. Like everything like lined up. I kind of opened up to kind of the information that I was given. And I can't really completely describe what happened, but something shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And went back the next year, did level 2, and boom, met more people in the community. And I'm like, and I got that, like what I had in the Marine Corps, like family, culture, everyone under the same methodology, all moving in the same direction under great leadership. And then went to level 3, and that was, again, just something I'd really just blown my mind. And then joined the team, the Baptiste team, and that shook me pretty good. My first, as an apprentice, I worked with Paige, and she was just, I connected really well with Paige. She like destroyed me on the floor as a assistant, and I was pissed. I was like, what the fuck? Maybe this isn't for me. And then again, it was like an hour out of that situation, I just noticed what happened. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've been in boot camp or trainings where I had to do push-ups because I fucked up something.
Got it.
And it's for me, she like destroyed me for me. And it was great. And it's never looked back. Worked with Baron and Paige and the team for, I don't know, 6 years, I guess. Yeah. On the studio side, right around the time I started working for RJ Parker as a teacher, funny story. I was driving home and going through San Anselmo, and I look at these two guys that I know from a Baptiste training, and they're working on a building in San Anselmo. I'm like, wait, you guys live in Cleveland. What are you doing here? Oh, we're opening a Baptiste studio.
Oh, really?
Like they didn't say anything. Eric Tabora and Jamie Ginsberg. Do you remember
That's
those names?
right. I do remember them.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. So they opened Marin Power Yoga, and I taught the first class there. It was great. I taught a bunch there, became a partner with Jamie. Eric kind of helped him start it and then went on his way. And amazing studio. We built that community more than I've seen or heard of in a long time. We had Baptiste teachers to start the first year and a half, 2 years. 2 years in, we had like 600 auto renews, which I don't have that now. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
And year 3, there was a shift. We brought in different styles of yoga, brought in bikes and TRX, and I couldn't commit myself to it. and nothing wrong with Jamie. He steered it in the direction he wanted to do, but I was minority partner, and I left. It was like I didn't know in the morning that I was going to leave by noon. It was just, again,
Huh.
it was something that, that some of those transformations happen in a moment, an instant. And it was like, yeah, this isn't me. I can't give it my all. I can't grow this the way I want to do it. And, I said, hey, I'm out. I'm going to break the partnership, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might open a place. I might not, I might just teach. So, I did that. And at the time I was working probably a program a month with Barron, and, just learning so much from Barron and knowing his background. And I'm like, our yoga was created in San Francisco. Like, that's where Baptiste yoga's birthplace is. And no one in fucking San Francisco knows what Baptiste yoga is. No one.
Crazy. Yeah.
And so I just had this big drive to start something that, bring back Baptiste yoga to San Francisco, and got the blessing of the rest of Barron's family and him and Pauline, who was running the institute at the time, and, became the first branded studio since Boston, and only second in California, because some studio up in, I don't know, Spotted Dog was the first, I think. Yeah.
Just barely beat you to it, man.
Yeah, but like California, the West Coast was like a Baptiste wasteland. He started out, the story, he started out in Boston and through the East Coast, and it was like the great migration, man. We didn't come out here till really you opened up.
But how interesting, right? Because like you said, Barron and his family grew up in the city in San Francisco. In San Francisco, I mean,
yeah. I didn't quite get it.
Crazy.
The buildup was very. I mean, no one did anything like that. No one taught Baptiste yoga. There was a couple sprinkled teachers out, but most of them, when they got into a vinyasa studio, here's your playlist, here's what you're going to do, make sure the mirrors are clean, and just, very different than our jive. And opening was a challenge for sure. And getting to people know we even existed was a big challenge.
Mm-hmm. And why would you say, well, I know you say opening was a challenge, and I think I have an idea of why you were saying right there why it was somewhat of a challenge. Maybe I'm off, but maybe you're saying that people had a certain perspective of what a yoga studio should be.
Yeah.
And then Baptiste San Francisco is a different vibe, and so it was hard finding people who kind of fit that mold. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Like that?
super difficult. It's the San Francisco yoga community. I mean, you go to one studio, it's pretty much the same as the next studio. It's vinyasa flow. They throw in some yin, they throw in some, some kirtan here and again, or magic bowls, which are all great, but they don't just do power yoga. Most of them don't. And the other thing that came really clear to me is most of the studios are built around like all-star teachers, one or two. And so everyone's going for that one or two teacher, and they're selling that teacher. And, we're selling a methodology. I'm sure you're the same way. You want your brand new teacher training teacher to teach a class that's going to affect the people on the mat the same as you. And it occurs to me in San Francisco is like building teachers up instead of not building a methodology up, or a studio or a community or a culture.
Yeah.
So we didn't fit into that at all, because, Jen and I were very specific on not taking all the great classes, mixing it up so that everyone has an opportunity to meet all of our teachers. So that was a big, no music, the first 3 years, the fucking Yelp reviews. I really wish they played music. There's no mirrors in there. I'm like,
it's always the same flow.
It's always the same flow.
Whatever. Yeah. People can come up with any kind of shit. Dude, this is so awesome, this conversation. I'm so glad that you brought this up, man, because I'm on the same page 1,000% with you. In
Yeah.
Sacramento, same thing. There was one main studio that started 20 years ago, and everybody that branched out from that studio basically created a duplicate studio with a different name all over Sacramento. It was
Yeah.
like you're getting the same product. But then when I was introduced to Baptiste yoga, I was like, whoa, this is completely different. First and foremost, like you're saying, like it is way more intentional, and there's a methodology that we're working from that I love, that like lands in people. But then secondly, what I got sick and tired of was, um, having one teacher with all the students coming to their class,
Yeah.
like, look at me, ooh, I'm so great. And then the next class that started 30 minutes later would have like 4 or 5 people in it. And
Yeah.
so when Katie and I opened, similar, we made a commitment to make the studio not about us, not about Katie and I, but about all the teachers, and that everybody on our team is playing at the same level, that we're working at the same level, that we all have the same thing to offer, which is to help other people bring this methodology to life in their lives so that they can take it into the community, to their family, so that it can make a difference, and I feel like there's so much more of a service aspect to that, different than that whole idea of, I am so great. Like, it's way less selfish of an approach
Mm-hmm.
to, and such a more powerful way to bring this powerful methodology to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, love it.
In my in between Marin Power Yoga and opening the studio, I explored teaching in San Francisco, and like I'd go into studios if they had two rooms going on at the same time. One teacher would literally try to steal you from going to the other teacher's class. There was no there was no there was no working together. It was all building every other their own brand, as in
Mm-hmm.
the teacher brand, and not the community brand. And um, yeah, it felt icky. Yeah, it didn't blend well with me at all.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good feeling. I didn't like that either, but I do love like what our communities have to offer. Anytime I've ever been to your and Jen's studio, man, I feel so at home. It's like,
Yeah,
it's amazing. And I know that when you've been to our studio, or students have been to ours, it's the same. Like, we have this
same.
amazing affiliate network that speaks a similar, well, we speak the same methodology, but more than speaking it, this is key, right? More than speaking it, we live it.
Mm-hmm.
We live this methodology. And people always say, and I'm curious for you if this is similar, but people always say, wow, I have never been into a yoga studio that has a vibe like yours, and I just don't know what it is. I mean, it's beautiful, it looks great, right? But like, I don't understand. Like, this place is so much different, so much
Yeah.
more different than any other place that I've been in, and it's because the methodology, really, and the way we live and who we are. Do you get that too?
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
And my bullshit trigger goes off, of course. I'm like, oh, come on. You say that to every studio,
right.
but you could see it in their eyes, and no, that's it. Cause they keep coming back. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah. Travelers too, if they're in town, they come back every single time.
Well, you
It's,
guys down there in San Francisco, you definitely get people from all over the world coming in, right? I mean, I
yeah,
bet you
pretty
met some
cool.
pretty amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
We're really lucky that way. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys, if you are listening and you're in the Sacramento area, which a good majority of our listeners are, Sean, anytime you're down in San Francisco, you've got to get down to the studio Baptiste Yoga, Baptiste Power Yoga San Francisco. It's in the Presidio. That's the location, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a park setting. It's right there in the south end of the Golden Gate Bridge, and
Oh,
that's
that's.
pretty beautiful.
Oh wait, so now but the Presidio, that whole area, now where you are, that's actually is it an old army base?
Yeah, so our building is the former Sixth Army Division building headquarters. So, but the whole base was, it's funny to think we were actually the third country to have this piece of land be a military base. So it was the Spanish first, the Mexicans next, and then us as third. And then the whole place has been decommissioned and is open to most of it is still a park, but then our buildings within there are mixed between the Presidio Trust owning the buildings and renting them out, and there's another option like my building. A contractor bought the building, and then he has a lease to be able to lease it out to tenants like me. So Yeah.
It is such a cool experience, man. Really, and like to know the history of it now makes it even that much more special for me. And then like the other thing you mentioned, how close it is to the Golden Gate and
Yeah.
that whole area. I mean, I just know the workshops that I've done there. Like when I have like a lunch break or whatever, I just cruise
Yeah.
down to the beach, dude. I'm looking at the Golden Gate. I'm like, this is the most amazing place.
Yeah.
It's like the iconic view of San Francisco, and your studio is right in the heart of it, dude. That's cool. You're creating the pulse for that area, man.
Yeah. We're really lucky. And the property I totally stumbled on when I was looking for places to build a studio. I was looking on the, I don't know, like, you know, Union, Lombard Street, the San Van Ness corridor, Van Ness corridor,
Hmm.
just like the bigger corridors for a lot of people. And I was looking at like 40 to $60,000 a month. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to work. And
Whoa.
yeah, I found this space and I'm like, it's, it's not as big as I wanted it, but it had so much stuff and so many things we can work with. And there's a lot of people in San Francisco that still think the Presidio is a military base and off. They don't go in there. And so I was hesitant, but I remember the week before, like making a confirmation that I'd lease it, I spent probably 3 hours a day in the area. I'd pull in, I'd just park, I'd look at the people. I'm like, okay, nothing's going on here. Like during the day, it's pretty quiet. And I went on a Sunday and I went out to the front of the other side of the building, and there were like 8,000 people there. And it was a time when we had this off the grid on Sunday, and like food trucks come out and they set up shop and people picnic there from all over the city. And I'm like, okay. I mean, people do come here. Like if I didn't stop on Sunday and see that people know where this place is and they come out there
Yeah.
during the week, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have probably made the leap. And I wouldn't have been able to open in greater San Francisco. So I wouldn't have had a studio.
Yeah.
So thank
Uh,
God for off the grid.
dude, it was totally meant to be, man. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, that's so awesome, brother.
Yeah.
You know, I want to spend some time on here too on this podcast. This just made me think about Jennifer
Yeah.
because we have mentioned her, but and how she like obviously was like your backbone during when you were going through your sickness and
Yeah.
brain surgeries and whatnot like that. How long have you two been married?
Over 30 years, like 30. Well, we had a 30-year anniversary. Then we
Yeah,
went on this big trip to kind of celebrate.
dude, was that awesome?
It was so awesome. The whole thing, like definitely celebration and being out there and 30 years. And yeah, it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
really good trip.
Well,
Yeah.
for those of us who are just still under 10 years in our relationships,
Yeah.
or anybody in a relationship, um, what would you say it takes
It
to
it
create
takes
and keep a 30-year marriage
yeah,
going?
you're both on both sides, you're going to change a little bit. And you really have to be accepting of the change either way. Like, you know, Jen throws this in my face all the time. She's like, I married a fucking Marine that knew how to swing a hammer, and now you're a fucking yoga teacher.
That
And it's like,
hunts.
yeah, sorry. You know, so it's like we change, and she's had some changes too. And you just got to roll with it, man, and be in for it's a marathon, not a sprint, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, and just yeah, acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. Be open to everything coming your way and don't try to move into a fight. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, you and Jennifer are like parents to me, like
Nice.
and like I say parents, but also like best friends.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
anytime I'm around you, we're around you. We just feel good and feel like we're taken care of and feel like we can be ourselves. And
Yeah.
man, you guys are definitely special. And I know like that has taken a lot of work, but thanks for that
Yeah.
advice. I'll
You're
pull that
welcome.
in.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, for sure. There was some. Oh, I want to talk to you about just real quick because I want to be cognizant of your time, man. But I want to talk about hunting.
Yeah.
Bow hunting specifically. That's another area that I just got into. I just got into bow hunting. It was my rookie season. You know that.
Yeah.
It was so awesome, man. How long have you been bow hunting?
Bow hunting, not as long as rifle hunting. Rifle hunting for whew, probably 30 years, and bow maybe 20, but that also the first couple of years prior to that, that was just going out a couple days with the bow, putting it away and grabbing the rifle,
Mm-hmm.
so really maybe 10 years doing the archery season prior to the rifle season. Um, but yeah, it's not easy.
No, it's definitely talk about patience, man. Well,
Yeah.
what is it that you love so much about the sport of hunting? If you're gonna like
Yeah.
kind of look at it as like in a big picture kind of way, what would you say you love the most about it?
I love the analogness about it. I don't know if that's a word, but
I like
there's
that
very
though.
there's no tech. It's all I mean, modern bows are pretty technical, but you're talking about a stick and some strings, and taking a big animal down with a stick and some strings. And and not only that, you just need to get so much closer. You need to really tap into like a lot of things that we no longer have, like things that our culture has lost. Like we don't smell like we used to smell. I mean, if you've been out in the woods more than a couple days, you get your smell back. You can actually smell an animal coming near you. You can smell the plants that they eat. We don't have that today. It's so clouded with everything around us. So I think the I don't know, the primalness of it, like really turning back to, if the lights turned off here tomorrow and we had to survive on ourselves, this is kind of who we need to be. And it's like, again, it's so much in the body. There's so much yoga in it, like bone support, breath, focus. It's all the same. And I just the idea that I need to, for my shot, I need to get within 30 feet, of an animal. That's pretty freaking close.
Yeah.
And the talent it takes, and to tap in to the skills that most of us no longer have anymore, and we're talking thousands of years that we lost them ago.
Mm-hmm.
That it's just fun. It's so exciting. It's such an adventure. And failure is a big part. You better be happy with failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, totally. You were talking about the smells that come up and just how you start to kind of get back to your innate primal way of being. I noticed, like for me, what I realized the reason I wasn't smelling or seeing the things that I wouldn't, naturally and whatnot is because I was so up in my head, like with all the different to-do lists and all the different things that we do on a daily basis that I was just finding myself in my head, and yoga practice and meditation helped me with that on the daily, but still there's so many tasks and things to do and we're constantly being inundated by different things, and so for the first couple of days when I was up there in September, I noticed I was like just not present, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden it's kind of like your experience from level one with Baptiste, it's like all of a sudden it like hit me and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
like this is awesome. I'm so present. Like I'm like out there from 4 in the morning until 9 at night, and then a couple of them just like all the way through the night, and I'm like, wow, this is how I want to live, man. I want to live in a connected way, close to animals, close to nature, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. It's like, it's almost hard reintegrating back into normal life after that, right?
Yeah. 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 It's some of those senses we completely turn off, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they smell fire and that's about it.
Like, and that's a good thing we smell that,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
obviously you're still holding on to a little bit of it too, because you got that good looking beard. You're still
Yeah.
growing out there. Well, Jen
Yeah.
gave you the approval on that, so that's good.
Yeah. She gave me like a warning not to shave it too. So.
Oh, really? I got to hook her and Katie up on a phone call. Every time it gets even close to that, Katie's like, so when are you shaving that?
Yeah, no.
Oh my gosh, Sean.
Yeah.
Man, this has been one of the greatest hours I've had in a long time, man.
Me
I
too.
have just seriously enjoyed taking the time to connect with you, and I'm glad that we can share it in this public platform so that more and more people can get to know who you are. You are such a great person. Your wife is such a great person.
Thank
Your
you.
studio is awesome. Yeah, man. Any final thoughts from you before we kind of wrap it up?
No, just thanks for the opportunity, and yeah, it's just that just I think we covered it, and I could talk to you for another 2 hours, and it would be just great.
I know
There's
we
more
could go.
shit we come up with. Yeah.
Yeah, we could go Joe Rogan style. Those guys like Joe Rogan and Kim Haynes, I'm like, how do they do it for so long? But then you get on a podcast with a guy like you. It's like, oh yeah, I know how they do it for so long. It's like I could do, hey babe, sorry, hey, hang out with the kids for a couple more hours. I'm gonna be in here with Sean.
Put the kids in flexi cuffs. I'll be right there. Yeah.
What are flexi cuffs, dude?
Like zip ties. So they can't get away.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't tell anybody that I was doing that like on a public level, but maybe put them in the flexi cuffs, babe.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Nice.
Well, yeah, let's stay in touch. And hey,
You got it.
everyone, thank you for listening to Play Hard and Love Big Radio, the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and Sup, based out of Folsom, California. You can check us out at spotteddogyoga.com. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is dedicated to bringing you the inspirational people and the inspirational stories so that you can take them with you and live a more purposeful and passionate life. And Mr. Sean Silvera, you have certainly been one of those people with those stories. You have inspired me and I know inspired our audience. So thank you so much for being a part of this, buddy.
Right back at you, brother. Been good.
Yeah.
Been fun.
Heck yeah, man. Let's do it again sometime. I would really like that. If you guys, if you're in the San Francisco area, don't forget to check out Baptiste Yoga San Francisco. I'll put a link to that website, although it's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah.
But if you're having a hard time remembering it, you definitely need more yoga and meditation, and you got to go check it out down in San Fran at that beautiful location there. All right, y'all. Thanks again, Sean. Have a great one, everyone.
Thank you.